You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen tea brewers on Amazon, each one promising restaurant-grade flavor and instant barista results, only to end up with a clunky machine that barely gets the water hot enough for a decent cup? I've been there, and I've also watched a few friends waste time and money on units that look sleek online but fall apart when you actually try to run a lunch rush. That's why today's deep dive is all about helping you avoid that disappointment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The BUNN ITB Commercial Infusion Series isn't a tiny countertop gadget you'd stash in a kitchen cabinet. It's a commercial-class brewer built to sit on a service counter or in a back-of-house station and churn out multiple tea recipes from the same footprint. What makes it different from the generic tea maker you see in a lot of office break rooms is the combination of pre-infusion, pulse brewing, and a multi-directional spray head that BUNN calls peak extraction. Those three things are meant to coax more flavor out of loose leaf teas, herbal blends, and even cold brew concentrates, all while giving you precise control over how the brew cycle runs. Let's start with the real-world setup. When you unpack the ITB, you'll notice the stainless steel body feels solid, but you also get a fairly large footprint, roughly the size of a standard espresso machine. You'll need a dedicated water line or a sizable reservoir. The machine doesn't come with a built-in dispenser, so you'll have to purchase the optional tea dispenser separately if you want a hands-free pour. Installing the water line is straightforward if you've done any commercial equipment hookups before, but for a home user that isn't used to plumbing, that could be a hidden hurdle. Once it's hooked up, the control panel is where the Easy Pulse display comes into play. The interface isn't a fancy touchscreen. It's a set of illuminated buttons and a small digital readout that walks you through programming a pulse routine. In practice, you can set the machine to pre-infuse the leaves for a few seconds, then pulse hot water through the basket in short bursts. The idea is to mimic the agitation you'd get from a hand-stirred pot, which many tea aficionados say yields a richer, more balanced cup. I tried it with a classic Darjeeling and with a robust hibiscus blend, and the difference was noticeable. The tea tasted fuller and less astringent than what I get from a standard drip brewer. One of the clever bits is the cold brew lockout. If you're using the same machine for hot tea during the day and want to switch to a cold brew recipe in the evening, you can engage the lockout to prevent the heating element from kicking in. That saves energy and, more importantly, stops you from accidentally scorching a delicate cold brew batch. For a CAF that wants to serve both hot and cold tea without buying two separate machines, that feature is a real time saver. Now, who should actually consider buying this? If you run a coffee shop, tea house, or a restaurant where tea is more than a side note, think afternoon tea service, specialty tea cocktails, or a menu that rotates herbal infusions, the ITB gives you the flexibility to program multiple recipes without taking up extra floor space. The ability to store several pulse programs means a barista can switch from Earl Grey to a matcha-style brew in seconds just by selecting a preset. It also shines in office environments that serve a large number of employees and want a consistent, high-quality brew without relying on individual kettles. On the flip side, if you're a home user who only makes a pot of tea a day or two, the ITB is probably overkill. The lack of an integrated dispenser means you'll need to buy that accessory if you want a truly hands-free experience, which adds to the overall cost. Also, the machine size and the need for a permanent water line make it less suited for apartments or kitchens where space is at a premium. For a single-family household, a simpler kettle or a small countertop tea brewer would likely give you the same flavor results with far less hassle. Talking about practical strengths, the pre-infusion pulse system really does extract more nuance from the leaves. When you brew a loose leaf oolong that has delicate floral notes, the pre-infusion allows those volatile compounds to bloom before the full heat hits, and the pulses keep the water moving so you avoid overextraction. The multi-directional 7-hole spray head spreads water evenly across the tea basket, which eliminates the channeling problem you sometimes see with single-stream brewers where water just runs down the side and leaves a lot of tea dry. In a busy service setting, that even coverage means you get consistent cup quality from the first batch to the 100th. The hidden trade-off is the learning curve. Because you're dealing with programmable cycles, you'll spend a few minutes dialing in the right times for each tea type. If you're used to just turning a knob and waiting, that extra step can feel like an